Thank you all for coming. We're here to understand and get the results of the last survey, 2017 survey of residents. And we're happy to have all of you here, including some of our management team. We'll start out. As most of you recognize, this is a copy of the form. It's not yellow, but it was yellow when you got it. All of the questions were presented on two sides of the one sheet of paper. This is a form that was used in the survey. Basically, the survey consisted of 15 questions, and there was a place for people to indicate how long they've been residents, their age range, and also make some comments. A lot of the latter information was not provided, but we'll go into that later. The people putting together the survey, there was a committee formed by the board when they decided to have the survey prepared for the residents, and Gail Wartosik was the chair of that committee. Also involved was Fran Overton, Jack Cumming, Valerie Cumming, and myself. Valerie Cumming was the one who put the results together with Gail's help. Valerie tabulated the results.
Oh, cool.
The surveys that was passed out was not identical to, but similar in many respects to surveys that we've done before, the board has done. Surveys were done in 2009, 2010, and 2011, and we've had a skip since then. The board actually decided to do a new survey in 2016. One was started then. We were ready to distribute that in the first of 2017, but then the front porch survey came out at the same time, so it was deferred. This is basically, we had basically 75% of the residents responded, 75% of the people who got copies anyway, and this has been basically the most return, or the best return in all of the other surveys. There were 199 surveys out, 140 returned. Okay. There's no claim to the fact that this is statistically valid. The controls and things are not there, but basically all of the surveys that were returned were tabulated, and it was up to the respondents to put down what their understandings of the questions were. Basically, it shows what the residents were thinking at the time of the questions asked, and therefore I think as we proceed, we're going to ask or allow questions from the floor, but I would indicate that we're not going to have questions about what the specific intent of a question was, because that was for you to decide at the time you answered. We have to, there is a possibility that some people feared identification in answering these because of the fact that very few people would give their ages or terms of residence here. There was also a possibility that extra forms may have been picked up, but that we tried to prevent that from happening, and we're pretty careful about how that was those were allotted. So we really don't know can't really comment on any biases that may have been precipitated by the survey itself, but we are trying to, or we think it's as valid as it can be. Now, this is a picture of the first four surveys, and you'll see each of them is set up with the most positive responses to the left and the more negative responses on the right. And the representation is not necessarily with the order of questions given correctly, but with the most positive question answers at the top, most negative at the bottom. And you can see the comparisons. There's a lot of similarities between the reports, and there also are dissimilarities that will be discussed as we go along. Okay. First question, or before we get into the first question, the darkest green on the left is the most favorable response. The medium green is favorable. So if you could distinguish the blue and the gray, the blue in the middle is the fact that the person did not, was negative about it, or not negative. The gray was they did not understand the question, or they indicated they didn't. And the two reds, the first red is disapproved, and the farthest right was greatly disapproved of the answer. I have to find where I have the tabulations here. Does anybody have any questions before we go to the actual questions here? Okay, the first question asked was, the resident council advocates well for residents. On that particular question, there were 45% positive, 40% either negative or don't know, or neutral or don't know, and 15% negative. The only comments received on that question was that they try, management does not hear, it's not their job, question mark. With whom? Corporate office or community at large. So you can tell by the various answers that are received that people interpret the questions a little differently. And that'll be true throughout. The second question was, CBTS management consults residents before changes. That's 20% positive, 30% no position, 50% negative. Now I'm combining the greens and the reds, and also the blue-gray in the middle. So you can get an idea of what those are, but if anybody has any questions about the specific percentages, you can ask or let me know. The comments are CBTS management only consults residents before unimportant changes. The major ones are always decided in secret. Redecorating with uncomfortable furniture, AL tier levels unfair, installation of sliding doors which are not working in the grand building. Management does not get residents' input for expenditures, some are frivolous. No time is assigned for time for them to report. No, we're not going to respond or reply to those particular comments at this time. These are as reported on the response sheets. Question 3. Front porch staff recruitment is effective. Responses 21% positive, 31% no position, 48% negative. The comments would take way too long to hire, causes terrible stress on current employees, very poor, always shortage of staff because of low pay, and what is the measuring stick? Again, an indication that the question may have been hard to interpret for some people. Any questions so far? Question 4, high-performing employees advance into openings. 29% answered that positively, 39% no position, and 32% negatively. Somebody listed some employees they thought hadn't been considered. Very poor performance, responsible for low morale and dining, given their motivation and skill. Question 5, CBTS benefits by being part of Front Porch. 30% positive, 48% no position, and 22% negative. It's almost an equal wash. Comments, dollar-wise, we are the cash cow. Front Porch causes much of the rest of the complaints listed here, or don't see any benefits. Any questions? Question 6, food consistently meets high standards. Question 6 got 70% positive, 7 no position, and 23% negative. Comments, food has consistently gone down in caliber and quality, but we still enjoy being here. Pre-prepared foods, not quality. Do not get seasonal fruits. Question 7, care service meets my needs. Question 7, 52% positive, 42% no position, 6% negative. Comments, poor coverage in AL, not staff or aging in place. Just fine if someone is healthy, but not for additional services. Haven't needed them so far. And before I go further, I just want to indicate that there is a copy of all of the questions with the percentages that were applied to each one. And that'll be available at the end of the presentation, but we didn't want to distract you during the course of the presentation. So, question 8, care services are priced fairly. 23 positive, 50 no position, 27 negative. Comments, no, need to be a la carte or compared to. That can't answer that one. Question 9. Marketing aims to enhance our community lifestyle. 30% positive, 50% no position, and 20% negative. Marketing aims to fill apartments with people willing to pay entry fee. As a result, they have lowered health standards and thus undermine the vitality of the communal living experience. Bringing in very aged and infirm, not good. How? This is a given. Which marketing? Any questions? Question 10, security at CBTS makes me feel safe. Question 10 was 71 positive, 17 no position, 12 negative. Question 11. Oops, excuse me. These are comments on question 10. Kendrick is wonderful and there's no one that caliber working on hours. He's gone. Not when there's only one person at the desk at night. Much of the time it's empty. Question 11. Maintenance requests are completed promptly. Question 11, 92% positive, 2% no position, 6% negative. The one comment was priorities yes, for others the wait is okay. So I think you figured that out. Question 12, CBTS communicates to residents. CBTS communications to residents has improved. 53% positive, 38% no position, 9% negative. Comment, CBTS communications to residents are very selective. Activities well publicized. Important things like policy and staff changes shrouded in secrecy. Very good now. Rumor has it has helped. Question 13. CBTS will keep me in residence if my money runs out. I've broken this down a little bit differently. I'm giving positive, neutral, don't know, and negative because at some point when we try to work some of these details out and proceed with corrective action, hopefully, it makes a difference here on who doesn't know. So 50% were positive, 13% were neutral, 29% indicated they didn't know the answer to that question, and 8% were negative. So there's some education needed. Comments? Yes, but they will get rid of me if they dislike me. Thought so. Form marked as don't know. Isn't this in the contract? I understood that CBTS would keep me in residence at CBTS if my money runs out. If this is not the case, please clarify in writing to all residents, or was told that. Any questions? Question 14. Front porch fee increases are fair to residents. I think you know where that'll go. 20% positive, 30% no position, and only 50% negative. So, comments compared to what? COLA area costs, ongoing costs, utilities, services, etc. Yearly rent increases and health fees too high, 5%. Profit before well-being. Question 15. Front porch puts residents' well-being first before profits. 19 positive, 20 no position, 51 negative. Comments, residents never, isn't this number one, is nonprofit. We've covered the 15 questions now. What we're going to do right now is go back and compare actually 6 questions with the answers given during this 2017 survey and the survey in 2009, or 11, excuse me. These were actually similar questions in those 2 surveys. Fair front porch fee increases. So you notice in 2011, there were 20% positive as compared to 19% positive this year. 42% no opinion in 2011, 31 no opinion in 2017. And in 2011 it was 33 negative, and this year it was 50 negative. You like the food. In 2011, the food was 90% positive and 10% negative. In 2017, it was 75% positive, 25% negative. Comparison with maintenance question. 2011, 81% positive. This year, 92% positive. 2011, 9% no opinion. 2% no opinion this year. And it was down to 4% negative compared to 10% in 2011. Security. In 2011, 48% were positive, and this year, 71% are positive. It was 37% no opinion in 2011, and only 15% no opinion in this survey, and 45% negative in 2011, and 24% negative in this survey. Question about residents' well-being. 30% positive in 2011, 18% positive in 2017. 42% no opinion in 2011, 30% no opinion in 2017. 23% negative in 2011, 52% negative in 2017. The last comparison has to do with overall our management consulting with residents. In 2011, 23% were positive, and 2017, 21% positive. 30% no opinion compared to 29% this year. And 42% negative in 2011 compared with 50% negative this year. This again is a look at the questions. This is not in order of the questions asked, but in order from the positive responses being larger to the negative responses. That's similar to the bar graph that you'll be presented after the program. There's a question on the survey about experience of the individual respondent. Some residents felt they had experiences that were not being used by management and felt that they should be consulted. It's not real clear from the responses that we received how many residents really want to be involved in any of this anyway. I think you'll see from a graph that we have coming up what that portrays. We're trying to figure out what people were thinking about on this issue. As you see, most respondents left the experience information blank completely, and only 17% put any comment in there at all out of the total. That kind of fits in some respects to other types of responses. Fewer want to be consulted and fewer still were consulted. So there's only 4% that said they had actually been consulted, but none of the 24 who listed experience said they were consulted. I don't know how the other ones were contacted. The experiences listed by residents were research skills and secretarial skills were used by management. The skills not used by management were in food service, surveys, feedback, marketing, accounting, special needs and management, problem solving, common sense, management of multiple client sites, and time in residence here. Anybody have any questions about these? Yes?
What was the question about this? What was the question about this? How was it stated?
The question had to do with whether or not people had talents and experiences they could share with management.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jackie. Management use of resident experience. I have learned how to work with them. Never will use your expertise under current management. In earlier years was a member of active finance committee. How do they know what my experience is? I've never been asked. They are not interested. Few of the demographics that are indicated with the results of the survey. Now, on this, only 80% responded to this particular question. 20% left it blank. Part of it, I think, was a question about whether or not that information could lead to identification of the respondents. But there is a comparison showing how ages were distributed among the different respondents. And you can see in the 2017 report that the age of the population, of course, has increased, which is not something that should be surprising to anybody in light of the fact that many residents moved in many years ago and have aged while they lived here. And we also have older residents moving in, so we'll have a graph. I think the next graph, there will be a graph that shows some of that trend in a minute. How long have we lived here? That was not answered by all residents either, but you can see there was a big block of new residents coming in from 2012 forward. And a couple of years, there were no new residents, and a couple of years very small, but there was a big burst in 2014 and 2016. This only goes through part of 2017, naturally. This just shows the average attained age by move-in year. That's showing basically that the population is getting older as on move-in dates. And that's also basically the same type of thing, showing the years in which that has taken place, the average age of entry increasing. Okay, the overall comments. Classification information requested certainly makes it very easy to identify individuals, or at least narrow it down to a few possibilities. This is why some people did not answer questions about how long they've been in residence or how old they were. Analysis could result in assumptions which are discriminatory. Conclusions could be made which are discriminatory against those over 90 who are alone, against those 65, 69 who share a unit, etc. Filling this section out is giving your name. General remarks. Management has deteriorated of late. A please return by date needs to be included on future surveys. This is not a survey, this is a collection of feelings and opinions. These are my opinions and feelings. No thought was involved. It is a constant fear that there is just one element in the brand building. Conclusions. I think most of you have already drawn some conclusions from the results, and this is kind of to help in the process. It's my hope that these survey conclusions will lead to some dialogue, that we can sit down and work things that residents feel are issues out with management. We can do that one at a time, make some progress. I don't necessarily agree with everything that was up there in a negative way or a positive way, but I do think that they are concerns of residents, and I think we need to look at them and see if there are ways that they might be addressed and resolved. We're happy living at CBTS and want our community to be all that it can be. And I think that's a pretty standard answer. I don't think anybody is really dissatisfied with being a resident. I think the dissatisfaction indicated are things that people think need to be improved. There remains confusion about the role of front porch. Almost no resident wants to be engaged with management and to be consulted on decisions affecting them. More and more of us are living active, vital lives to advanced ages, reaching 95 to 99 and beyond, which is a positive sign for us. Any questions, comments? Gary? Hold on just a minute. Fran has a microphone that she'll hand to anybody that has a question.
I've been here 5 years, and this is the first time that we have an information as what the residents think. Now, there is a new lady on front porch who was introduced a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I don't remember her first name, but I think her last name was Lang. And what I understand for her statement is that she is highly interested in what the residents think. Therefore, I'm asking, are we going to take the results of this survey to her?
The results will be available for her to review. Yes.
It's not the same.
That's not a very positive answer.
Yeah, we haven't been asked yet for input. And it will give it input when asked. Don?
Yeah, Tom, are the results of this going to be posted on our website?
Yes,
So anybody can get it,
that's correct.
including this person that wants to see it, she can access it.
Correct.
Okay.
Other questions? If not, I want to thank all of you for coming. Oh, yes. Here's a question.
I have a question, but thank you for your conclusions.
Thank you for your conclusions.
Thank you. Yes. She's ringing.
I'm heard a rumor that the board was given a significant amount of money towards new chairs to replace these monstrosities. What is the board doing?
Right now, we're holding the money until we get a proposal from management as to how they wanted to spend the money on new chairs. The management will come to the board with a proposal.
Management will?
Correct. They will come with the proposal and we'll review it, and it'll have to be approved by the board.
There is some indication that there is a problem with communication. Is there any effort to correct that?
I think, yeah, Harry, I think effort's been made. I think Joan has started, rumor has it, to take care of some of those problems. We have a meeting with her every month to discuss issues and problems. She comes to our board meeting, which most people don't come to or listen to any explanation about it. They ignore it. So, you know, I think there are a lot of efforts made to communicate. A lot of people don't bother to be educated. There's no further questions. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I think it was important that we did this, and I hope everybody got something out of it, good or bad. Thank you.
And the handout.